Imagine a landmark so iconic it's etched into the dreams of millions. Yet few know it's built on a graveyard of broken promises. The Hollywood sign, shining bright by day, but by night, it hums with the restless energy of those who came searching for glory and found only darkness. What if I told you its letters aren't just made of steel and plaster? They're woven with ghost stories, soaked in tragedy, and cursed by the land itself. This isn't just a symbol of fame. It's a monument to the damned. High above Los Angeles, 9 letters stand as a shrine to ambition, a beacon for dreamers, a graveyard for the lost. The Hollywood sign, by day it glimmers with the promise of fame. But when the sun sets, its shadow stretches like a ghostly hand over the hills, and the stories wake up. Stories of starlets who leapt, of voices that still whisper from the cliffs, and of a curse buried deep in the soil. This isn't just a symbol of success. It's a tombstone for the forgotten. 1923. Los Angeles is a desert blooming with ambition. Developers carve roads into the Hollywood Hills, dreaming of selling paradise to the wealthy. Their tool? A colossal sign, Hollywoodland, each letter 50 feet tall, studded with 4,000 light bulbs. It screamed luxury, but from the start, there was something off. The hills weren't just remote. They were hostile. Jagged cliffs, rattlesnakes in the brush, coyotes howling like mourners in the dark. And the sign? It loomed over it all, glowing like a false promise. The wealthy never came. Instead, the desperate did. Drifters, failed actors, outcasts, people already clinging to the edge. Then just 2 years later, it happened. A woman, young, anonymous, her name scrubbed from history, climbed the cliffs near the sign. Maybe she'd come to chase the dream. Maybe she'd already lost it. No one knows. But when she jumped, her body shattered on the rocks below. Here's the eerie part. That same night, the sign's lights began to flicker. Workers swore they'd checked the wiring. No storms, no faults. Yet there it was, Hollywoodland blinking erratically, like a distress signal. Locals called it an omen. They were right, because this wasn't just a tragedy. It was a blueprint. The sign had tasted despair, and it wouldn't be the last time. Imagine climbing a ladder to heaven, only to find hell waiting at the top. That's what Peg Entwistle did on September 16, 1932. A 24-year-old actress from Wales, she wasn't a nobody. She'd starred on Broadway, shared stages with legends, even filmed a role in a movie called 13 Women. But Hollywood chewed her up and spat her out. By that summer, she was living in her uncle's guest house, her career as cold as the fog rolling over the hills. The night she vanished, she told her uncle she was going for a walk. Instead, she hiked up Mount Lee, past the scrub and sagebrush, to the base of the Hollywoodland sign. The H towered 45 feet above her. She scaled a workman's ladder, rusty, unstable, and jumped. They found her 2 days later. A woman out walking her dog spotted a shoe, then a jacket, then Peg's broken body in the ravine. In her pocket, a suicide note. "I'm afraid I'm a coward. I am sorry. But here's what haunts me." Her last act wasn't despair. It was defiance. She chose the H, the first letter, as if to say, this is where it begins. This is where it ends. And yet she never left. Hikers near the sign report a woman in a 1930s cloche hat, her dress faded, her eyes hollow. She doesn't speak, not at first. But get too close and you'll hear it. A sob tangled in the wind, or a phrase that chills your blood. Don't chase the dream. Park rangers log these sightings, but never investigate. Some truths are too heavy to carry down the mountain. Peg's ghost isn't just a specter. She's a warning, a flickering projection of what happens when ambition curdles into obsession. The sign gave her immortality, but not the kind she wanted. And now, she makes sure no one forgets it. Peg Entwistle's death was a spark, and the Hollywood sign? It became a wildfire of despair. After 1932, something shifted. The sign stopped being just a landmark. It became a destination, a final, terrible stage for those who believed their dreams had burned out. And the stories, they piled up like unopened letters, each one more tragic than the last. Let's start in 1958. A man named Robert Vernon, 34 years old, a former actor who'd played bit parts in westerns. When the roles dried up, he worked as a bartender on Sunset Boulevard, serving drinks to the stars he'd once auditioned beside. On a chilly November morning, he left his apartment wearing a suit he'd saved for premieres. He took a bus to the hills, hiked to the sign, and jumped from the same H-peg had decades before. In his pocket, a headshot from his last audition. On the back, he'd scribbled, "I just wanted to be seen." But Robert wasn't alone. The sign kept calling. Jump to 1987. The body of a 22-year-old musician was found sprawled near the base of the D. No ID, just a cassette tape in his jacket. When police played it, they heard a raw, unfinished song. The lyrics were a single phrase repeated like a funeral dirge. They said I'd be a star. They lied. To this day, nobody knows his name. But locals swear that on foggy nights, you can still hear that faint, distorted melody rising from the canyons, a ghost track trapped in the hills. Then, 2009, a woman named Sarah Montgomery, 39, a screenwriter who'd moved to LA from Ohio with a suitcase full of scripts. For years, she worked as a waitress, scribbling dialogue on napkins between shifts. When her latest screenplay was rejected by every studio in town, she drove to the sign at sunset. Park rangers found her car empty, its stereo still playing a loop of Judy Garland's Over the Rainbow. 3 days later, a hiker spotted her red scarf snagged on the Y. Her body was never recovered. These aren't just names. They're patterns. A failed actor, a broken musician, a vanished writer, all drawn to the sign like moths to a funeral pyre. And they all left something behind. Park rangers here have a name for the notes they find. Ghost mail. Letters tucked under rocks, stuffed into cracks in the sign's steel frame, or fluttering like confetti in the dirt. Some are angry. This city eats souls. Others are achingly simple. Tell my mom I tried. One written in smudged mascara on a diner receipt read, I thought the lights would look like heaven. They just look empty. But it's not just the notes. It's the air. Hikers say the trails near the sign feel different. Colder. Heavy like walking through wet cement. One woman claimed she heard laughter, sharp, mocking, rising from the canyons as she passed the L. Another described the smell of gardenias, sweet and rotting, clinging to the dirt. And then there's the fog. Not the soft, rolling kind. This fog moves deliberately, coiling around ankles, sliding over the letters like a shroud. Why here? Why does this spot, of all places, pull people toward the edge? Maybe it's the sign's cruel irony. It's a giant, glowing what if? A reminder of how close they were, and how far they fell. Or maybe it's something older, something in the soil, because the land remembers. In 2016, a geology student took soil samples near the sign. She found abnormally high levels of lithium, a mineral linked to mood swings, depression, even psychosis. Coincidence? Maybe. But dig deeper, and you'll find darker stories. Construction workers hired to repair the sign in the 70s refused to work past dusk. They complained of whispers in their tools, shadows darting at the edge of their vision. One claimed his thermos filled with blood overnight. He quit the next day. And then there are the animals. Coyotes here don't howl. They wail. A sound so human it's been mistaken for a woman screaming. Mountain lions, too. They avoid the sign entirely. Biologists can't explain it. But ask a ranger, and they'll tell you. Even the animals know this place is cursed. But here's the truth no one wants to say. The sign isn't cursed. It's a mirror. It reflects what we bring to it. Ambition, hope, desperation. And when those things curdle, it shows us what's left. A void, a cliff's edge, a choice. The saddest part? The sign survives. It gets repainted, repaired, rebooted for new generations. But the people, they dissolve into footnotes, names in a police report, a paragraph in a dusty archive. Unless they come back. Visitors hiking at dawn sometimes report a figure standing atop the A. Silhouetted by the sunrise, it looks like a person, arms spread, facing the city. But as the light grows, it fades, vanishes. Is it Peg, Robert, Sarah, or something else? A collective ghost, stitched together from all the lost souls who've stood on that ledge? We'll never know, because the sign keeps its secrets. It always has. But next time you see it, gleaming in postcards or movies, remember. This, for every star it crowns, there are 100 more it buries. Their stories hum in the wind, their regrets seep into the soil, and their voices, well, they never really leave. They just join the chorus. Before the Hollywood sign, before the studios, the starlets, the neon glow of ambition, these hills belong to someone else. The Chumash people. For thousands of years, they lived here, hunting in the valleys, gathering acorns in the shadow of these peaks. To them, this land wasn't just dirt and rock. It was alive, sacred, and fiercely protected by spirits older than time itself. When Spanish settlers arrived in the 1700s, the Chumash warned them. Tierras del Diablo, Devil's Land, a place where the veil between worlds was thin. where restless souls wandered, trapped between life and death. The settlers didn't listen. They built missions, ranches, roads. But the land fought back. Crops withered. Wells ran dry. Children fell ill with fevers no medicine could cure. Still, no one listened. Fast forward to 1923. The Hollywoodland sign rises, its lights piercing the night sky. But from the beginning, strange things happened. Construction crews complained of tools vanishing. Horses reared at nothing. Workers swore they heard voices in the canyons, voices speaking a language that didn't sound human. The developers shrugged it off. Bad luck, they said. Nerves. But the land remembered. In 1978, the sign was crumbling. Letters were missing, rusted into skeletal shapes. A crew was hired to rebuild it. That's when the story started. A worker named Luis Martinez arrived on the first day. He'd been a construction foreman for 20 years. Nothing spooked him until he climbed the H. Halfway up, his wrench slipped from his belt. He watched it fall, but it never hit the ground. It vanished midair. Later, his crew found it lying neatly at the base of the sign, cold to the touch. Then came the voices. Workers eating lunch would hear their names called from empty stretches of brush. One man, Carlito Reyes, followed the voice of his dead brother into a ravine. He was found hours later, shivering, his hands scraped raw. "They were laughing at me," he said. The rocks were laughing. But the worst was the creaking. At night, when the crews left, the sign would groan. Not the normal sound of metal settling. This was a deep, guttural noise, like something trapped inside the steel trying to claw its way out. Security guards refused to patrol after dark. One quit mid-shift, leaving his flashlight and badge on the dirt. Coincidence? Maybe. But here's what the Chumash elders say. When you bury the sacred under concrete, it doesn't die. It waits. And the land here, it's been waiting a long time. In 1994, a group of hikers strayed off the trail near the sign. They found a cave hidden behind a tangle of ivy. Inside, the walls were covered in handprints, dozens of them, pressed into the stone in red ochre. Archaeologists later confirmed they were Chumash, over 800 years old. But the hikers swore something else. The prints, they were fresh, as if the hands that made them were still warm. Then there's the fog, not the usual coastal mist. This fog moves against the wind, clings to the sign like a second skin. In 2015, a photographer named Anika Patel camped overnight to capture the sunrise. She woke at 3 a.m. to the sound of drums. Slow, rhythmic, coming from all directions. Her camera recorded nothing but static. But when she played the audio back, her dog, a husky that never howled, pressed itself to the floor and whimpered for hours. Even the animals act strangely here. Ravens gather on the sign's letters, silent and still, as if standing guard. Deer freeze mid-step, ears twitching at sounds humans can't hear. And the coyotes? They don't avoid the sign. They circle it, like they're keeping watch or waiting for something. But why? What does the land want? Maybe it's not about want. Maybe it's about balance. The Chumash lived here in harmony, taking only what they needed. Now the hills are scarred with mansions, billboards, helicopter tours. The sign itself is a brand, a logo slapped onto t-shirts and coffee mugs. The earth beneath it has become a stage, a caricature. And the spirits, they're not happy. In 2020, a TikToker named Jaden Cole hiked to the sign at midnight for a ghost hunt live stream. Halfway up, his phone died. His backup battery died. His flashlight died. Then he heard it, a low, guttural growl vibrating up from the ground. Not an animal. Not the wind. It felt alive, he said later. Like the mountain was angry. He ran, tripping over rocks, and didn't stop until he reached his car. When he checked his phone, the dead battery had somehow recorded 12 minutes of audio. Just breathing. Heavy, wet, and hungry. Stories like this pile up. A park ranger in 2022 found a dead owl perched on the O, its wings spread like a sacrifice. A tourist claimed she saw a shadow figure standing inside the D, its arms outstretched as if crucified. And every few years, the sign's lights flicker for no reason, same as they did the night that first starlet jumped in 1925. The Chumash elders have a theory. The sign is a wound, a scar, and the land is trying to heal itself. Think about that. Every time someone jumps, every time a dream dies here, the scar deepens. The earth absorbs that pain, that rage, and when it can't hold anymore, it pushes back. So is the Hollywood sign cursed? Or are we the curse? The Chumash would say there's no difference. The land was never meant to hold this much greed, this much grief. And sooner or later, all debts come due. Next time you see the sign, bright and white against the blue sky, remember, it's not just watching over Hollywood. It's sitting on a fault line of old magic and older rage. And one day, the ground beneath it might just crack. The Hollywood sign doesn't rest. Not really. By day, tourists snap photos, influencers strike poses, and helicopters buzz overhead. But when the crowds leave, that's when the other visitors come out. The ones who don't need a map. The ones who've been here all along. Take October 12th, 2019. Photographer Marcus Lee stayed past sunset to capture the sign under a full moon. He set up his tripod near the D, adjusting his lens as the fog rolled in. When he reviewed the shot, his blood turned to ice. There, in the upper curve of the letter, was a face, pale, blurred, but unmistakably human. Its eyes were hollow. Its mouth stretched wide, as if screaming. Marcus deleted the photo. The next morning, it reappeared in his cloud storage. He hasn't gone back since. But Marcus isn't alone. In July 2021, a group of hikers set out at noon. Sunny skies, 85 degrees. But as they passed the L, the temperature dropped. One breath, then another. Their exhales hung in the air like winter ghosts. It felt like walking into a freezer, said Emma Torres, 27. My friend laughed, said it was just the wind. But then we heard it, a whisper, right behind us. Go home. We ran. And the whole way down, that cold, it clung to us. Then there are the night watchers, the ones who dare to linger after dark. In 2022, a security guard named Javier Molina patrolled the trails near the sign. Around 2 a.m., he spotted figures moving atop the letters, silhouettes pacing back and forth, like actors rehearsing a play. He radioed for backup. But when help arrived, nothing, just the sign glowing under the moon. Then, as they turned to leave, a voice crackled over Javier's radio. You shouldn't have looked. The voice wasn't his partner's. But the strangest stories aren't about what people see. They're about what they hear. In 2023, a couple hiking at sunset claimed they heard applause. Not the wild cheers of a crowd, but slow, mocking claps echoing from the canyons. It sounded like it was coming from everywhere, said Ben Carter. Like the hills were laughing at us. Rangers searched the area. No one was there. But locals weren't surprised. They've heard it before, phantom applause, faint music, even sobs tangled in the Santa Ana winds. Some try to explain it away. It's just the wind twisting through the letters, scientists say. An auditory illusion. But ask the people who've stood there alone in the dark, and they'll tell you. Illusions don't smell like gardenias. Yes, the smell. Sweet. Cloying. Out of place in the dry chaparral. In 2020, a paranormal investigator named Lila Park set up sensors near the sign. She detected nothing unusual, no temperature spikes, no electromagnetic surges. But at 3:17 a.m., her audio recorder picked up a voice. Female, young, humming a tune Lila recognized. Over the Rainbow, the same song Sarah Montgomery played in her car before vanishing in 2009. When Lila played it back, her dog lunged at the speaker, snarling. But not all encounters are gentle. In January 2024, a TikTok influencer named Zoe Cole snuck past the barriers for a midnight live stream. Guys, this is where Peg jumped, she whispered, aiming her phone at the H. Seconds later, the screen filled with static. Viewers heard Zoe gasp, then scream. Stop! Let me go! When police found her, she was curled in a ditch, her phone shattered. She refused to speak for days. Now she posts videos about knitting. Even the skeptics can't ignore the patterns. The sign's caretakers report flickering lights, even after a $250,000 upgrade to solar power. Maintenance crews find handprints on the letters. Too high for vandals to reach, too small to be an adult's. And then there are the birds. Ravens gather on every October 16th, the anniversary of Peg Entwistle's death. They stay all day silent, then vanish at dusk. But here's what chills me. The sign is evolving. In 2018, a tech CEO proposed projecting ads onto the letters. The night before the vote, every member of the city council had the same nightmare. A woman in a 1930s dress, standing at the foot of their beds, repeating, "You don't own me." The proposal died. In 2024, a filmmaker tried to shoot a horror movie at the sign. Equipment failed. Actors forgot lines. The director woke to find his script rewritten. Every page filled with a single phrase. Get out. They filmed elsewhere. So, what's really happening here? Maybe the signs become a sponge, soaking up a century's worth of pain. Every shattered dream, every final breath, absorbed into its steel bones. And now it's leaking. Or maybe the Chumash were right. The land was never ours to claim. The spirits here don't care about fame or followers. They want their home back. Either way, the message is clear. The Hollywood sign isn't just a landmark. It's a living thing, a crossroads where the past and present collide. And the people who brush against its secrets? They don't stay the same. Tourists who mock the stories often return quieter, sadder. Some move away, haunted by nightmares of falling. Others become obsessed, hiking the trails daily, convinced they'll find answers in the dirt. They never do, because the sign doesn't give answers. It asks questions. What are you willing to sacrifice? How far will you go? When is the dream not worth it? And if you listen closely, in the rustle of the coyote brush or the creak of the letters in the wind, you'll hear the replies, the whispers of those who answered wrong. So, is the Hollywood sign haunted? You tell me. But remember, ghosts don't need to be seen to be felt. And the sign, it's always watching, always waiting. Maybe tonight, when the fog rolls in and the city lights dim, you'll hear it, the faint creak of steel, the sigh of a century's worth of lost souls. Or maybe you'll just see the sign glowing white and shiver for no reason at all. That's not the wind. That's the past breathing down your neck. Look at the Hollywood sign. Go ahead, stare at those crisp white letters. What do you see? A postcard? A dream? Or a tombstone? Because that's the truth no one tells you. This isn't just a landmark. It's a testament to the glittering highs of fame, to the crushing lows of failure, and to the souls caught forever in between. Think about everything we've walked through tonight. Peg Entwistle, her body broken on the rocks. The Chumash elders, whispering warnings into the wind. Those cryptic notes left behind. I just wanted to be seen. Each story a thread in the same dark tapestry. But here's what chills me. The sign doesn't care. It's indifferent. It stands there pristine, while the dirt beneath it swallows secrets. For every starlet who makes it onto the Walk of Fame, there are 100 more who dissolve into the shadows. Their names erased, their screams muffled by the Hollywood hills. And yet we keep coming. We climb those trails. We snap those photos. We whisper, what if? Because the sign isn't just a symbol. It's a siren song. It promises everything, red carpets, flashing cameras, immortality. But immortality comes in two flavors. You either burn bright or you haunt. Maybe that's why the ghosts stay. They're stuck in the in-between. Not famous enough to be remembered. Not quiet enough to fade. So they linger in the fog, in the creak of the letters, in the cold spots that follow you home. They're the price of admission to this town. The fine print no one reads. But tonight, I want you to do something. When you see the sign on your screen in a movie, glowing in the distance, don't just see the dream. See the cost. The woman who jumped from the H. The musician who left his song in the dirt. The writer who vanished into the Y. They're all still here. Not as footnotes. Not as urban legends. As warnings. Because Hollywood doesn't eat the weak. It eats the hungry. The ones who love the dream so much, they'll let it devour them. And the sign? It's always watching. Always waiting. So yes, chase your ambitions. Climb your mountains. But ask yourself, what are you willing to lose? Your peace? Your sanity? Your life? The Hollywood sign doesn't answer. It just watches. Cold. Silent. Unblinking. And if you listen closely, when the sun dips below the hills and the tourists scatter, you'll hear it. The whispers of those who learned too late. Their stories don't end with credits or curtain calls. They end with a gust of wind, a flicker of light, a shadow where none should be. So stay curious. Stay wary. And whatever you do, don't wander the trails after dark. Because the sign's greatest trick isn't making you believe in the dream. It's making you forget the nightmares it's built on. If you dare to uncover more secrets buried in plain sight, subscribe. But remember, some stories follow you home,